Hey, Dad.
Hey, Mick. Fancy meeting you
So,
here.
yeah, fancy seeing you here too. Uh, well, this might not be the most fun conversation, but I thought before we delve into how awful this is, I thought I could just read a brief background I wrote about what's been going on so people are caught up to speed. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. The gist of it is it looks like your license is getting taken away. But starting from the beginning, the College of Psychologists of Ontario, a regulatory board that was formed to monitor psychologists' relationships with their clients mainly, has been after you for, is it 3 years or is it longer than that?
It depends on the waves, but for this issue, it's been 3 or 4 years, yeah.
So working professionals like doctors, lawyers, massage therapists even are all overseen by regulatory boards. What regulatory boards are supposed to do is give clients who've been basically abused by working professionals a place to go to complain to. What happened to you is a bunch of people who weren't your clients, random people online from all over the world, complained about a number of your tweets as well as comments you made on Joe Rogan. The sorry not beautiful tweet in reference to a extremely obese swimsuit model, a tweet criticizing the government of Canada, a tweet saying that physicians removing women's breasts for being trans was criminal, and one, I thought, fairly entertaining tweet suggesting that this is the tweet that people online are saying you were inciting suicide, which honestly, I think you'd have to have the IQ of a beetle in order to think that. But anyway, you responded to someone who thought the world's population was too high and suggested that he should include himself in the depopulation he was already suggesting. The college basically took all those complaints and decided that you pose a moderate risk to the public. And I quote, the tweets were undermining public trust in the profession of psychology and trust in the college's ability to regulate the profession in the public interest. So completely ignoring the fact that one, morbid obesity should not be encouraged as it kills people. Removing your breasts and sterilizing yourself should not be encouraged. And I'm not even sure why we'd have to explain that criticizing the government should be protected and sarcasm is a form of humor. They decided you have to undergo re-education, which you fought back against and lost, and appealed and lost because, in my opinion, the court system in Canada is full of woke judges, so there was no winning there. And now you're basically in a position where you either undergo re-education, which won't work because you won't get turned woke, or
I don't
you
know.
lose your license. You don't know.
You never know. This time next year, man, it's pink hair and away we go on the radical leftist side. Converted
Yeah.
completely. No, you don't think
Okay.
so?
I don't think so. So that's the overview. So I guess we could start with how are you feeling about all this?
I think you were insulting to beetles. What have they ever done to you, Michaela? Okay, anyways.
Yeah. So are you okay?
It's tiring. You know, like I'm preparing for this tour. I have I'm finishing up 2 books. They're very complicated. They take pretty much all my attention, and having to fight this war, well, it's tiring. You know, I have to plot, strategize, write, watch my tongue, consider my next best move. And I also have to face the dismal reality that, as I wrote in the National Post, in Canada's National Post this week, that in some real fundamental sense, Canada's Charter of Rights isn't worth the paper it's written on, and likely professionals in this country can say goodbye to their right to express themselves, politically or otherwise, politically or professionally. I don't think that some of my tweets were political in a sense, in that I was criticizing certain government figures, Councilman Trudeau's former chief of staff, and Justin, the WEF puppet himself. And I suppose you could argue that those were political opinions, and fair enough, but I have the right to my political opinions. The tweets that I really got criticized for, particularly the one regarding Page, or page, or however he or she wants to be referred to, I also regarded that as a professional obligation, because I think it's incumbent on psychologists with an ounce of integrity to point out the danger of having self-deluded, narcissistic, self-destructive celebrities parade their proclivity to self-sterilize and self-mutilate as a public good on their public forums. So I don't regret any of that. And I certainly, you know me, Michaela, I can feel guilty at the drop of a hat. It's actually one of my outstanding features. And I've scoured my conscience with regards to these accusations. And the best I can do is to find them grimly amusing. This is so ridiculous. I mean, the fact that the college accepted a complaint that was the entire transcript of my 3-hour discussion with Joe Rogan pretty much says it all. And by the way, on the climate front, just so that everyone is crystal clear about this, I think the climate models that are used to justify the encroaching tyranny planned by the WF are 100% untrustworthy. And I think that the notion that we should let people terrify us to death with notions of an impending climate apocalypse so that we have to be locked down in every possible manner, give up our automobiles, give up our flights, private or otherwise, give up our right to buy clothing, give up our right to eat, give up our right to keep grandma warm or cool in the summer, let's say. It's like, no, sorry, no, wrong in every possible way. And more people are waking up to that realization. You know, some of these tweets are now 2 years old. I think they've aged remarkably well, personally. And so I don't see where the crime is here, man. I think the crime would have been holding my tongue. So, and you know, you asked me how I'm doing. It's like, this didn't really come as a surprise. So I'd already prepared for it. And as you and I spoke about last night, and I've talked over with Tammy too, and with Julian, my son, for, you know, to some degree, we're going to see what good we can make arise from this. And if this is my opportunity to further expose the machinations of the radical left, narcissistic, resentful, woke mob, then bring it on, boys. We saw what happened to Claudine Gay. We saw what happened to the president of UPenn. If the good people at the Ontario College of Psychologists think they're immune from such things, they have another think coming. So, you know, and maybe I'm wrong. I'm not wrong about the damn tweets. You know, I might be wrong about how this is going to unfold. But even there, the worst thing they can do to me is take my license. Now, they're definitely planning to do that, because the rule is I have to be educated by people of their choice at my expense for whatever length of time they deem suitable, until, by their standards, I've learned whatever the hell lesson I'm supposed to learn. And I can't even imagine what that lesson would be. It's like, what? Don't tweet? Don't speak? Don't think? Don't tell my clients the truth? So I don't know how to learn that lesson. I don't know how they're going to measure whether or not I've learned it. I don't know who they're going to get to measure it. I have no idea who they're going to get to teach me. I guess we're going to find out. I would like to find out. I'm very curious about that person. And so I'm set up for failure. And, you know, my detractors will say, well, Dr. Peterson, you set yourself up for failure. You know, whatever. But
those are the Beatles I was referring to.
Yeah, I know. And, well, I don't think I've set myself up for failure. I wouldn't say the evidence so far suggests that I have. And so, you know, it's so much of it's preposterous. One of the things I asked the college, they never answered. I asked them 40 questions in a letter of this level of impossibility. So one of them was, all right, so you got about a dozen complaints. Maybe they got like 17 complaints and decided to proceed with 13, it's something like that, from people from all over the world, detailing out my crimes, as we've discussed. Many of those complainants claimed falsely in writing to be clients of mine, by the way, which didn't invalidate their opinions apparently. None of them, just to be clear about this, none of them were clients of mine or new clients of mine or were anyone I commented about on Twitter or knew anyone I commented about on Twitter. So we want to be clear about that. And I can't see how this can play out in any other way than I take the course, it doesn't work because it's set up not to work, then they take my license. Okay, now what's the consequence of me losing my license? Well, it's annoying, you know, because those are hard licenses to get, and I worked very hard to earn and deserve that license and to maintain it. And also very hard at being a good therapist, which I was. There were no complaints taken against me by anyone until I became known in the public sphere, you know, so that's a good thing to consider. And I'm not that happy about the prospect of the woke Beatles that you described having their way with my professional credentials. It annoys me deeply. Now, on the other hand, I'm not dependent on that license anymore. I have other tricks up my sleeve, so to speak, anyways. And at some point, I'm going to determine that being a member of their pathetic little incestuous, ideologically addled, resentment-ridden, bureaucratic, pea-brained, micro-souled club is not worth the effort. And I suppose we're probably there already, but I have something to do publicly, you know, in my delusion. And like I said, maybe I'm wrong and I should just shut the hell up and pack up and go home. But my sense, grandiose though it may be, is that these bloody colleges, regulatory boards, they pose a major threat to the free speech and free thought of all Canadians, not just professionals. Canadians can think for themselves. What sort of professional consultation are you going to be able to obtain when the people you're talking to are terrified of telling you the truth? When you bring them your 13-year-old daughter who's in major distress, who's so concerned about her body that she's thinking about sterilizing herself and having her breasts removed, and your psychologist isn't going to be able to do anything except lie to you that it's all right. How's that going to go for you? You think that through for like 15 seconds. And if you don't think that'll happen to someone in your family soon, you either don't have a family or you're deluded, because it's coming your way real soon. So, you know, I feel that I have an obligation to fight this out in the public sphere. In many ways, it would be simpler for me just to tell them to go directly to hell and give up my license proudly, you know, and not worry about this again. But I don't know. I'm not there yet. Might happen. I'm not there yet. We'll play out this farce to its end, and I'll do that in the faith that if I conduct myself with a certain degree of honor and care, that the results won't be precisely what my would-be enemies intend. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. This is I mean, luckily you're in a position where this isn't going to crush you, but if this happened to somebody who didn't have multiple streams of income, what would they do? They'd just be re-educated and lie, I suppose. Or quit.
Well, the problem with being, it's not that easy to be re-educated and lie. I mean, first of all, you know, it's pretty hard on your soul. Second, you can't lie persistently without becoming corrupted. You can't pretend without tilting in the direction of your pretense. And so an honorable person in this situation is they're basically screwed. Like, there's nothing they can really do. You know, because if they quit, which is what they should do, they should tell them to go to hell publicly and repeatedly. Amy Ham, the nurse in British Columbia, they've tortured her to death, and she was very afraid of them, and she's come out swinging again. So, you know, she's got some spine, that girl.
Did she oppose what was going on with COVID? That's her story?
Well, she really got in trouble, as I understand it, for insisting that there was a biological difference between men and women, right? Which is the most basic of facts, right? Of all facts. That is the most basic. If you are willing to compromise yourself on the issue of the reality of biological sex, there is no lie you won't swallow. And that's why we're being tempted with that particular proposition, because the evil system of ideas that has the woke ideologues in its clutches has, as part of its structure of implicit knowledge, the certainty that if the lie of gender fluidity, well, let's say biological sex fluidity, can be promulgated, there's no limit whatsoever. So, and people, they want to delay the inevitable. If the woke mob comes knocking, they'll kowtow and apologize, and it's certainly understandable, because who the hell wants to put their family's financial security at risk, their professional license? But, at some point, you can have a certain amount of hell now, or you can have way more hell later. And I've never been someone to wait around for the next wave of hell when I can just get it over with right now. And I guess that's what accounts for whatever degree of combativeness I have. It's we're going to have a fight. We're going to have it right now. And we're going to get to the bottom of it. So pleasant though that will be. So, I don't know, the sardonic part of me, like there's a blackly amusing element to this. It's so ridiculous that it's almost incomprehensible. And so I'm curious. It's like, okay, with each move, this gets, either I get more deluded or this gets darker, depending on how you look at it. I presume it's that it gets darker, like the rot within Canada gets exposed more deeply. I mean, we've seen something similar, as I said, take place on the university front in the United States. And, there are lots of people jumping up and down about that, like right now, like Bill Ackman and Christopher Rufo. And Rufo probably knows more than anyone else about how deep that rot goes. But, would-be Democrats like Ackman, they're shocked by Claudine Gay and the president of UPenn and MIT. It's like, if that shocked you, you guys have a lot more devils to encounter in the next few months. This is a big problem. And Canadians, I've thought about this a lot. For about 150 years, Canadians could rest assured in the essential reliability of their fundamental institutions. And maybe Canada foremost among countries in the world. Arguably the Scandinavian countries were in the same league, and certain European countries, and the United States on a good day. But Canada was pretty damn stable. Kind of dull, a little hard on excellence, but reliable, orderly, stable, predictable, peace, order, and good government sort of place. And like that was 1995, boys and girls. And wherever the hell you are now, it's not there. And Canadians not only don't know that, they don't want to know that, but also they don't even know how to find out to know that, because especially the older Canadians, they're accustomed to relying on legacy news services like CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, to provide them with, at least quasi-valid information. Well, forget about that. Yeah. Like, those days are gone. That ended in 2015. That's quite a while ago now. So, let's let the comedy roll, man. And, one of the things the CPO people don't understand, probably don't want to understand, is that I had to hold my tongue and bide my time while this legal action was proceeding. And now it's like, it's very dangerous to put someone in a position where they don't have anything to lose. I don't have anything to lose. The worst they can do, and this is what they'll do, is they'll take my license, and then I'll be known by those who wish to foster enmity against me as now disgraced Canadian psychologist Jordan Peterson. But what that's going to do, I believe, is bring disgrace to those who levy that epithet. It'll just undermine the validity of the designation itself. It'll undermine public trust in the idea of psychologist, in the reliability of that designation. Now, that's a pretty preposterous claim, but And maybe I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, well, I'm willing to take the punches. But there's a reason that people bought 11 million copies of my book. The reason they bought 11 million copies of 12 Rules for Life was that they found it helpful, like psychologically helpful, which was its purpose. There's a reason that the video interviews and lectures that I produced on YouTube and released on YouTube, mostly for free, not that I haven't benefited financially from all of this, because I certainly have, and I'm not the least bit ashamed of that. In fact, I'm pretty happy about it and grateful for it and hope it will continue. And I'm striving to make sure it does. It's like, there's a reason people are watching those videos and listening. So we'll see whose reputation suffers. Hopefully I won't do anything too stupid and angry along the way. And I don't think I will, because I'm actually not particularly angry. It's like, I digested all this a long time ago. I'm sad about it. I'm sad for my country. You know, and we've talked too. You moved. I could move to Arizona and have a heartbeat.
Yeah.
You know, my son, Julian, he's an American. He could leave. Lots of Canadians are moving. 3 times as many Canadians move to the U.S. as vice versa. We're going to be the worst performing economy in the developed world for the next 30 years by the current projections.
Really?
We make less money now in Canada on average than people in Mississippi. And sorry for everybody in Mississippi to use you as that example, but hey, you're all doing better than Canadians, so you can be happy about that. It'd be much simpler for me just to say, oh, you know, pack up all my troubles in the old kit bag and hit the road. You know, it's not like I'm not used to moving around, but I don't know. It's kind of interesting. So, and I also feel a certain moral obligation.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that you're going to continue this battle legally?
Well, we do have one avenue. There is one appeal route left. We can appeal directly to the Supreme Court. It's a very low probability maneuver, and you know, another loss. Who knows, right? Because assume that gets rejected, which is the most likely outcome. Well, then those who are not very fond of me will say to those who want to believe, well, you know, 3 different levels of Canadian judiciary decided that Dr. Peterson was wrong. Who the hell is he to make claims that this is, an inappropriate response? And look, I can understand why people would believe that. I would want to believe that, you know?
Yeah, it means the entire court system is compromised.
Well,
basically.
It implies, it certainly implies that. You'll be happy to know now, though, that the federal court today announced that you have the right or even the obligation to reveal your pronouns when you address the court, and that you also can start your, whatever it is you're doing, with an Indigenous land acknowledgement. So people can make of that what they want. Yeah, they just announced that on Twitter today.
Arizona sounds like the right move. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Well, you have a personal stake in the matter too, but I also appreciate that. You know, I'm pretty happy that you'd be happy if we moved down there. But you know, Julian's here, and
he should
plans
move
to stay.
too.
Yeah, well, there's plenty of people thinking in that direction. But for now, I think I'll continue in the course that I've set myself on, and Tammy's behind it, and you know, I'm willing to play come what may. You know, I already have my ducks in order with regards to my strategies. I'm going to say what I think. I don't really care what happens. Like, that's not exactly, it's not like I don't care. That's wrong. Sorry, that's ill-stated. There isn't anything better that could conceivably happen to me than exactly what will happen to me, regardless of how it appears, if I am careful and state the truth. I firmly believe that. I don't even think I believe it. I think I know it.
Whether you're feeling stressed, anxious, or simply seeking a moment of peace and tranquility, the Hallow app has something for you. Hallow offers an incredible range of guided meditations and prayers that are designed to help you deepen your spirituality and strengthen your connection to God. With Hallow, you can explore different themes and types of prayer and meditation, such as gratitude, forgiveness, and centering prayer. You can also choose from different lengths of meditation to fit your schedule, whether you have a few minutes or an hour. With its user-friendly interface and hundreds of guided meditations, the Hallow app has quickly become a go-to resource for people seeking spiritual growth and healing. Download the app for free at hallow.com/Jordan. You can set prayer reminders and track your progress along the way. Hallow is truly transformative and will help you connect with your faith on a deeper level. So what are you waiting for? Download the Hallow app today at hallow.com/Jordan. That's hallow.com/Jordan. hallow.com/Jordan for an exclusive 3-month free trial of all 10,000 plus prayers and meditations.
So whatever success I've had is because I say what I think. And obviously I paid a certain kind of price for that. I don't have a research career anymore. Although that's not exactly true either, because I have some pretty damn good researchers on my staff, and we're doing some remarkable things at a rate that was like 100 times faster than anything I could do in the university. Like, I don't think in some sense I haven't lost anything. Like, I had to change. I'm not a full-time practicing professor anymore, although I'm still a professor emeritus, so I have that designation. I don't have a clinical practice, but I'm kind of practicing on a global stage. That's not an exaggeration. I don't have a university, but I'm building one. That's kind of interesting. So there's nothing in it that hasn't been gained apart from a certain amount of stress. But, you know, what, are you going to have a life without stress? I don't think so. And if you're not worrying about something big that's real, you're going to worry about something that's small and delusional. So you can forget the whole stress-free thing. You wouldn't even want that if you could have it. You know, people are way too ordinary and unreasonable to want a stress-free existence. You know, you hear people say, I just want to be happy. It's like, oh, hey, that's all you want. It's to be like walking around in a cloud of delight 100% of the time. And then they say just as if that's the easiest thing in the world for anyone to imagine and manage. It's like, no, definitely not.
Do you think, like, so I've been talking about this a bit on my Instagram, and people have reached out and said, is there anything I can do to help? But like, what's the answer to that? Yeah, okay.
Sure. Paper would be best, but if you have to do it electronically, do it electronically. Sure. You know, that's helpful.
Maybe we'll link that then in the description for anybody who's interested.
Sure.
I still think it's like, you're doomed. Your license was gone, like, as soon as you became famous in 2017. Like, it wasn't going to be there, which you said yourself, I think, in 2016 or 2017, that speaking out like this is going to, I mean, you were a bit more doomsday about it, something about lose your career. But I feel like you've been talking about this for a while.
I lost my professorship, essentially. It just became impossible. People might be curious about that. You know, I couldn't figure out if I could go back to the university for quite a long time. And it certainly would have been uncomfortable to do so given the woke direction of all educational institutions. But I think I could have gone back and made peace with my colleagues. It's not like I didn't fundamentally get along with them, you know. But I realized once I recovered and could think clearly that I couldn't take graduate students anymore. I couldn't train researchers, because one of the things you're hoping if you train researchers is that they go off to be professors. And I trained plenty of professors, which is a high level of success for an academic researcher, by the way. It's one of the standards by which attainment in those fields is judged. There isn't a hope in hell that anyone who ever worked for me, much less got a letter of reference from me, let's say because they were my student, or who even agreed to be in my lab, would ever get an academic position. So how could I continue as a professor? And then with regards to being a clinical psychologist, well, first of all, once things blew up around me, my life was so complicated that I just didn't have the free capacity necessary to concentrate as diligently on my clients' welfare as would have been necessary. Because when you're in a clinical session with someone for an hour, nothing that's about you is supposed to happen. Right, so if you're preoccupied, well, that's not good. And plus, you'll make a mistake, especially if people are talking to you about really important things. And then also, I have to have free time outside of my practice to take phone calls and so forth, and to drop everything at the drop of a hat in case there's an emergency. You remember when you were growing up.
Oh, yeah.
How often did the phone ring during the week from a client?
In a client in rough shape. I was going to bring that up during this podcast,
Well, how
actually.
often?
I feel like there were a few clients where it might have been every day. Like, it
Right,
was
right.
really
Well,
frequent.
and I gave them my phone number too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you got to be all in if you're a psychotherapist. And there's just no way I could continue with that, not in good conscience, and that was really painful because I liked my clients and they liked me. And, some of them I had a relationship with that was as deep as you'd typically have with a family member, certainly. Like, you get to know people in a clinical environment maybe better than anyone else has ever known them. And if the thing goes well, those are close relationships. And so it was very painful for me and for my clients to have that all evaporate. But the writing was on the wall, and when reality comes knocking, you're a fool if you turn away, regardless of what it is. So, and it's the same thing now. It's like, this looks like bad news, and it's certainly bad news for other professionals. And I think Canadian professionals who aren't woke themselves and who don't have their heads fully in the sand and their nether regions exposed for exploitation, let's say, they know this is bad news. Well, that's the image that came to mind the other day when I was thinking about Canada's situation. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's part of what happens when you let your shadow talk to you, Oh, man. Yeah, pretty rough, man. So it's tiring. I've been very tired this week, and it's been difficult to concentrate on my book, Wine. And that is a problem because it's due right away. And I suppose to the degree I am angry, I'm angry because I don't like having my time stolen by dimwits who don't have anything better to do with their lives than promote the dogma of ignorant men and moralize about it. I don't like that, to say the least. And part of the reason I don't like that is because I know where it goes. Where it goes is not good. And where Canada is going is not good. It might already be that where Canada is not good. The biggest fear I have right now for the country is that Trudeau will hang on for another year, because getting rid of that man is like trying to get a fly out of sticky paper. Yeah, with all the mess that would entail. And then Pierre Poilievre will be elected. And then we'll find out just how bad things are. And that'll be dumped on his shoulders. And his government will fail because of the cataclysm that he's inherited. The Conservatives will have a one-term shot at it, and then like Mark Carney will be the new Prime Minister of Canada. That's the most likely outcome. And by that time, Canadians will make 40% of what Americans make instead of the 60% they make now. Yeah. So, that's rough and likely. So maybe not, but I have some of the abilities of Cassandra. Cassandra was a seer who was fated to be entirely accurate in her predictions. Her torture was that no one ever listened to her. So I don't have that problem because people do listen to me, but I do have some ability to see down the road to where things are going. I mean, I'm optimistic fundamentally. I certainly do believe that as a species, we're on the cusp of a potential prosperity and realm of possibility that's unparalleled.
I like that better.
I tell you, we could sure carry everything to an unimaginable hell in a handbasket with equal ease. And, I'm hoping that we're all wise enough to pick the former route and not to engage too carelessly in the delights of the latter. And everyone can see that playing itself out.
I feel like another outcome could be Trump winning in America And I feel like Canada always kind of trails behind what America does a little bit. And so potentially Trump could turn around America and then Canada could follow suit after that, give or take 5 years after or something. That would be a more optimistic
we'll see.
outcome.
I mean, it's certainly the case that the Jewish community in the United States and Canada are waking up to the dangers of the progressive idiocy that they so foolishly, by majority, supported. So that's a good thing. Certainly MIT, Harvard, and UPenn revealed their hand. So the degree of rot in the educational institutions is becoming to be somewhat apparent, even to people who are inclined not to believe it, which is like everyone, because who the hell wants to believe that? There are certainly signs that the public has had enough of the woke nonsense, especially on the green front. I mean, the German working class is, let's put it this way, not very happy. We saw what happened in Argentina. Did you see the new president went to the WEF?
Yeah, did you see his speech? Yeah, I did. Did you see the AI translated version in English?
No.
Oh man, it's good. Yeah, the AI is really coming along. We're going to use that for Peterson Academy, I think. It looks like he's speaking in English, and he even it's in his voice and his accent. It's really good. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, he, for everyone who's watching and listening, I mean, he went to the WEF to Davos and said, you guys have got the problem wrong. You're the problem. And that's what I think. It's like top-down centralizing globalist green utopians moralizing about the poor expelling carbon while flying around the world in their jets. Yep, they're the problem. Pretty obviously. That's you, Al Gore.
It's interesting that they invited him. I thought that was interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
weird,
right. Fair
huh?
enough. And also good. I mean, that is one of the things that, you have to give the devil his due. They did have enough gall to invite him. So, and he had enough courage to speak. So, that could be worse. And there are other things unfolding around me that are very, very optimistic. We're launching Peterson Academy, as you pointed out, at the end of February, and that's fun. It's a great adventure to see if we can offer high-level university equivalent education for like 10% of the price to everyone. That's a cool thing. The art conference, I started getting involved with this organization, the Alliance for Responsible Citizenship, which is trying to promote a vision of decentralized responsibility as the antithesis of top-down centralizing globalist green utopia / hell. And we had a lovely time at the conference. It was a smashing hit. We got 15,000 people at the O2 afterwards for a public event. That's going great guns, and I really enjoy working with the people that I've been working with. So I have a lot of reasons to be optimistic in my own life. Tammy's doing well. You're doing well. Julian's thriving. I'm not 98% dead. So, that's a good thing. So the college thing is a bump in the road in some real way, and also an opportunity. It's an opportunity. It's an annoying opportunity. Well, it is an annoying opportunity, but I'm doing my best to be grateful for it too, because I do believe, and we've had lots of experience like this, and we've already talked about this, is that just because the thing that's happening to you at the moment presents a problem doesn't mean it isn't rife with opportunity. And I do think that's a reflection of the old dragon gold symbolism. It's like you have to confront a dragon to get the gold. But what that also implies is that, well, it might look like a dragon, but maybe it's a treasure house. And we're sort of taking that attitude with regards to Peterson Academy, and also with Essay, the app that I'm working on with Julian. It's like, well, nobody teaches people how to write. Okay, well, if nobody's doing it, and you see that, well, then you could do it. The universities are disintegrating. Okay, well, hey, people still need to be educated. And that's a better way of looking at the world, is just because it looks like I don't know if there's any such thing as an opportunity that doesn't present itself as a problem. It's a great way of thinking about problems. It's not naive. That doesn't make it easy. You know, if you're really having trouble with your wife and you figure out what the trouble is, you could radically improve her life and your life and maybe the ability of both of you to communicate with everyone else. That's a hell of a gift, you know, in the guise of that problem. So I'm okay. Tired. That's the only problem. You know, because I was already working pretty much at 100% capacity, and I suppose there's some danger in that, but I'm trying to finish this book, and it's a really hard book. And so when something like this comes along, I'm burning up energy I really don't have. And there's a certain danger in that, and I get a little more irritable. I think I was mouthy on Twitter last night again after not being so, you know, for a number of months. And that was a bit of a slip. And that's a danger, you know, and it's one of the dangers of this sort of trial by process that I'm in at the moment, is that one of the typical outcomes for people who are pinned down by responsibility-less bureaucrats hiding behind the luxury of their positions is that they get pushed to the point where they do something stupid. And then as soon as they do something stupid, you know, of course, they're screwed because their tormentors jump all over them and say, well, we knew you were like that from the beginning. And that's what we were warning everyone for. That's the social justice bird's voice, by the way, in case you were wondering.
Lovely.
Yeah. Dictatorship by screeching harpy. That's where we're at now, right? We're going to find out what the feminine proclivity for totalitarianism is real soon. We're just doing this for your own good.
That's no good. Okay, well, I feel like, is there anything else we want people to know? That pretty much sums it up.
Well, I guess we could speak directly to Canadians for a moment. It's like,
yeah,
if you're watching and listening this and you want to do something about it, well, write the Ontario College of Psychologists and let them know what you think. Write your member of parliament or your federally or your member of parliament provincially if you live in Ontario. Ask them what the hell's going on. You know, and what they think about the fact that the regulatory boards in Canada now have final say even over the charter rights of Canadian professionals. Ask them what they think that means for the rights of the typical person. Look, guys who are watching and listening, and think about it for a minute. If the right to free speech and thought can be denied to me by my regulatory board and the courts, what bloody chance do you think you have? And then if that doesn't bother you enough, then ask yourself this: what chance do your children have? You know, and if you think I'm a crank and that I'm exaggerating this, well, fine. You're welcome to that opinion. You might even be right. I don't think so. But you might be, and you can take your chances just like everyone else. But if you think I am right, you better think about it, because the news on the Canadian front is not good. This country is in serious trouble, way more than people think. And the most likely outcome is exactly, I think, the one I described. The Liberals will be turfed out temporarily. Pierre Poilievre will take the hit. And certainly the establishment will do everything they possibly can to blame everything cataclysmic that Trudeau has been producing on Poilievre. That's obviously the best strategy. And then we'll have another Trudeau clone, some elitist intellectual, even though Trudeau is by no means an intellectual. He has all the pretensions of an intellectual. He has none of the intelligence or wisdom, a certain cunning, that's for sure, and no shortage of self-confidence. We'll get another one like him, and then it'll be time to move to Arizona.
Okay, well.
Anything else, kiddo? Any cautions on your part?
I don't think so. I think we're set up pretty well. I mean, be careful on Twitter or X.
Yeah, I will.
That would be my caution. Be careful on X.
Yeah.
But and sleep and don't get too upset or angry. because it's just, well, it's kind of out of your, you're really just along for the ride here.
You know, that's kind of true of life in general. You know, you're kind of swept along, and you got to ask yourself what you want to be swept along by. And I would say you want to be swept along by your relationship with God, and you want to be swept along by the truth. Because if you're swept along by falsehood and the prince of lies, you're being swept towards something so abysmal that the worst of your paranoid imagination would stretch itself beyond its capacity to imagine. So
Oof.
I'll say what I think, like I have for years, and I'll pay my price, whatever that is, and I'll reap my rewards, whatever those might be. And I have confidence in not only in the outcome, but even in the process, painful though it may be, you know, at certain moments. I got lots of support. You know, and Tam and I are on the same page. That makes a big difference. And so, same with you and Julie. And I've got lots of support. And we've been through worse than this, man, by a lot. So, and we get to see what happens, you know. It's not boring.
That's for sure. It's not boring.
Yep.
Okay, well, I think that wraps up that very nicely. Thanks, Dad. Good luck with everything.
Okay. Bye-bye.